tossing and turning, sleepless night after sleepless night, haunted by the mistake you made at auction. Today we're talking about auctions. We're looking at what to negotiate before you attend and how you can avoid the big mistakes. So let's jump in. Many years ago now, I was a part of a real estate agent's office, and every Thursday they would do training on auctions. And in this training, I learned a phrase called feed the greed. This is where real estate agents would encourage people to go to auction. Essentially, you're feeding their greediness, thinking that they're going to get a bargain, that there's no one else smarter than them, and that the property will be sold at no matter how low the price is. Because ultimately, a real estate agent's job is to get as many interested people to the property as they can, and the rest will take over. Essentially, their goal is to create huge competition. Competition creates record prices, and the whole point of a real estate agent recommending a property to be sold at auction is to fetch the highest price possible. So this is the first thing you want to look out for. If you feel like you're going to get a bargain, if you feel like you're smarter than everyone in the room, if you feel as though that the property will be sold at any price, this is the first thing to question. Firstly, is this true? And secondly, am I being led on? Am I being led to feed the greed? If you feel as though that is the case, just beware, because this might be a telltale sign of making a big mistake when going to auction. The next thing you'll want to look out for is what you can negotiate before the auction. So let's jump in and understand the contract terms. In Queensland, there's no terms for things such as finance and cooling off periods. And also you'll need to pay a 10% deposit if you're successful. In New South Wales, it's much the same, with the highest bidder being the purchaser, subject to meeting any reserve price. And in Victoria, much of a muchness, with the cooling off period also waived if you make an offer within 3 days prior to auction or after auction. So there's no cooling off period. And no matter the state you're in, a few key notes when going to auction is that they're unconditional. And if you bid, you bought it, with no conditions such as your finance, cooling off, or building in pest. And this essentially means before going to auction, you want to get all your ducks lined in a row. That means your finance, your building in pest, and also your searches through your solicitor. And if you need help with finance and looking for a great mortgage broker, here at Hunter Galloway, we can help. We help Australia-wide and don't charge a fee for our service. So go ahead and reach out to us at huntergalloway.com.au or call us on 1300 088 065, and we'd love to help. And before going to auction, remember that you have the power to negotiate everything and anything you want. Common items that are negotiated in the contract prior to auction include the deposit amount and included items. So if there's a TV that's plumbed into the wall, you want to include that because it may not be a part of the end sale contract. And one of the things I get asked all the time is, can I make a pre-auction offer? And the big answer is yes, you absolutely can. Depending on how close auction is, will depend on whether or not you can include a finance clause or not. We've seen many times where people have negotiated prior to auction and were successful in getting a building and pest clause, a finance clause. So the big lesson here is that if you don't ask, you don't know. And if you are making an offer without finance, make sure you talk to your bank or a broker, ensuring that the property is within the bank's guidelines and that your pre-approval is a fully assessed pre-approval and still valid and in date. So now looking at the golden rules to follow when you're planning to attend auction. Firstly, you want to arrange a building and pest inspection, and realistically, you want to make sure that building and pest inspection is your own, not the real estate agent's, because ultimately you want an independent opinion. You want someone that's working on your behalf, someone that you've paid and that is working in your best interest. The second thing you want to do is make sure you've got a fully assessed pre-approval. Make sure that a actual credit assessor from the bank has picked up your application, completed a full review and given you the tick of approval. If you get an automated pre-approval, stay clear. Essentially, it's just a computer saying yes. The next point in the process is to look to arrange a valuation, and you can pay for an independent valuation. Unfortunately, banks won't complete this on your behalf. The reason the banks won't complete this is that unless you have a executed contract to sell, they won't be able to complete this for you. The next thing you want to do is complete your market research. That's looking at properties in the area and how much they're selling for. So really gauging what is where in your suburb and becoming a suburb expert. The only way you'll know you're a suburb expert if you know everything that's going on in the suburb. You'll want to know the good side and the bad side in the area. And a few great tools to really help in your market research is Walk Score, and it'll give you an indication on how easy it is to get around with the property of interest, and Microburbs, which will give you all the demographics of the area, including the crime rates, demographics, and the schools and cafes in the area. The next thing is you want to attend a few auctions so that you can get a feel of what happens in the area. From there, decide on your highest and final price. And this is a price, no matter what happens, you won't go over. So make sure it's predetermined. Don't make it up on the spot when you're attending auction. Make sure you have that finally locked in before attending auction. Then talk to the real estate agent, get a copy of the contract to sell and all terms and conditions so that you can get legal advice. Make sure you have a conveyancer or solicitor look over the contract and all the terms and conditions and give you recommendations on the types of searches you should be completing before attending auction. Arrange a title search, make sure that there's no issues or encumbrances that you're not aware of. And finally, confirm with the real estate agent how much deposit is required. And again, it's something you can negotiate. So do feel free to negotiate and reduce the amount of deposit required. It's very common for only a 5% deposit required. So remember that and keep this in mind. And you can access our full auction guide by visiting huntergalloway.com.au/buying-at-auction, and this will give you an in-depth analysis on the exact steps and strategies you should follow if you are attending or planning to go to auction. And in summary, if you are planning to go to auction, remember the 5 P's. Prior planning prevents poor performance. So you want to make sure you do all your research, complete all the relevant searches, and make sure your professionals are lined up, ready to go and giving you the green light to go to auction.